What's up, Dolphin Nation? What's up, Fan Nation today? How you doing today? Is Hump Day, as you guys know. Today we're going to go ahead and talk about Asante Samuel Sr. and others speaking about the culture of the Miami Dolphins. And is the culture weak and not enough to win a championship and compete with the elite? I'm going to go ahead and start with the Asante Samuel clip, and we will go from there.
Dolphins had no reason to trade Jalen Ramsey other than they're sensitive. There's no leadership in the Dolphins organization. Mike McDaniel is a pushover. Chris Greer, the general manager, he has no backbone. These guys over here at the Miami Dolphins, they are running this team like a little league team. No one can stand up to the players. They're terrified of their own players, and they have no control over their players.
Asante Samuel Sr. Not knowing anything and speaking out. So I can tell you this much. His son, Asante Samuel Jr., I do not expect him to sign with Miami. If he does, I'll be completely shocked. But other than that, he pretty much said Chris Greer is a pushover. Mike McDaniel is pretty much a puppet. And this team is not a winning culture. Let's continue. I'm going to go ahead and now read to you an article that proves the point a little bit more of what he just said. And it might be the last season of Tua, Mike McDaniel, and Chris Greer in Miami. This article is by NFL.com's Cody Benjamin and was written yesterday. The Miami Dolphins would seem to be a hot destination in the NFL, but both literally and figuratively. Players get to bask in the Florida sun. They get to enjoy the heater salaries without state income tax. Without state income taxes, they get to represent the storied franchise that boasts the only undefeated season in the league history. Who wouldn't want to play for the Dolphins? A lot of people apparently. All-pro cornerback Jalen Ramsey is the latest to jump ship, all but advertising his availability for weeks before his official trade to the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Ramsey didn't leave before constantly undermining the Dolphins staff, according to the South Florida Sun-Sentinel. But was Ramsey the issue, or was it Miami's utter lack of stability? Former Pro Bowler Asante Samuel, whose son Asante Samuel Jr. had recently been on the Dolphins' radar as a free agent, suggested in unsubtle terms that it's the latter. Miami's leadership has no backbone, Samuel argued recently on his podcast, claiming McDaniel is a pushover, along with general manager Chris Greer. They're terrified of their own players. Some might counter that McDaniel's sensitivity is precisely what made him the right hire in 2022. When the coach's admittedly nerdy energy proved a quick bomb after Miami's rugged run under Brian Flores, quarterback Tua Tagovailoa would certainly make the case. He's openly blamed Flores for ruining his early career confidence, and he played with newly found authority as soon as McDaniel took over. Yet it's fair to wonder, 3 years later, if McDaniel's touch now enables rather than improves men under his watch. Take McDaniel at his own word. After an ugly 2024 finish that saw the Dolphins miss the playoffs, that frazzled head man admitted that he needed to get a better grip on team discipline, revealing that multiple players had repeatedly been late for meetings throughout the season. Tight end Jonnu Smith, who just left for the Steelers with Ramsey, may have affirmed as much when he recently alluded to locker room issues that plagued the Dolphins last season. Except this isn't a one-year issue with Miami. Set aside the iffy football decisions, like Greer's inability to field a stable offensive line or properly manage high-profile salaries over the course of 9-year tenure, featuring exactly 0 playoff victories. Just from a culture perspective, Miami has been the NFL equivalent of an accident, a controversy, a feud, a drama waiting to happen. The list of examples just during McDaniel's 3-year reign is already fairly thick. There was the Tua talk and prolonged contract negotiations during which the quarterback openly lamented the club's slowness to extend him. There have been at least 4 different off-the-field incidents and lawsuits involving star wide receiver Tyreek Hill, who also ignited speculation with his own frustrations after the 2024 season. There was the defense vocal opposition to former coordinator Vic Fangio, who went from disdained Miami outcast to beloved Super Bowl winning commander of the Eagles defense in the span of a year. Maybe Fangio wasn't a bad person, as former safety Javon Allen implied, but instead just demanded more of the Dolphins than, the Miami culture had taught them to expect. Maybe there was a reason former Buffalo Bills safety Jordan Poyer, who spent 1 year with the Dolphins trying to reverse the club's reputation for folding in adverse circumstances, admitted after 2024 that he would have never gone above and beyond for his teammates he had in Miami. We were lying honestly. Pass rusher Bradley Chubb told reporters of the team's supposed culture shift in 2024. Point blank period. We weren't making the effort to go the extra mile. Is anyone surprised that McDaniel, when asked about Chubb's comments, downplayed the notion and suggested disappointment over the fact that he and Chubb hadn't spoken about it first? This is a common practice with McDaniel, whose authenticity is refreshing in the land of stoic NFL coaches, but often reveals just how often he and his players seem to be on different pages. It'd be downright unfair to paint McDaniel as an aloof leader. In fact, he appears quite the opposite, so thoroughly invested in the people around him that he often takes the podium looking drained on behalf of his players. He may be so far down the rabbit hole of trying to uplift and evaluate, however, that he missed the chance to correct and redefine. This manifests not only in the locker room, but on the gridiron, where the Dolphins have been highly explosive, but also highly combustible, a video game attack without a killer instinct, a splashy and colorful assortment of playmakers without the discipline and the grit, resolve of a contender. Under Mike McDaniel in 2024, the Dolphins were 8-9. Offense ranked 22. Defense ranked 10th. 2023, 11-6. In 2024, they didn't make the playoffs. 0-1 in the playoffs. Defense ranked 2. Offense ranked 2. Defense ranked 22. In 2022, they were 9-8. 0-1 in the playoffs. Defense ranked 11th. Offense ranked 11th. Defense ranked 24. Does it help that he has been without Tua Tagovailoa for a hefty chunk of 2 seasons? Of course not. But even navigating the quarterback's medical issues has been a hairy ordeal for McDaniel's heart has no doubt been in the right place when he refused to speculate about Tua Tagovailoa's future. After each of the signal caller's scary concussions, he's officially up to 3 at the NFL level. Still, it's hard not to see where McDaniel's player-appeasing priorities could also still go wayward here, even as plenty medical experts and NFL greats cautioned that Tagovailoa's latest head trauma should have been warranted retirement consideration. McDaniel was primarily concerned with adding anxiety to Tua's plate by even acknowledging the possibility of hanging up the cleats. Certainly Tagovailoa's availability to the Dolphins is key for McDaniel and the rest of the franchise moving forward. The real question is, will that be enough? It's clear everyone in the building is aware of the persistent culture problem. It's not so clear that everyone agrees how to fix them. In the NFL, of course, winning cures everything, at least for a while. But that's a part of the problem. Despite instant chemistry to open the marriage, McDaniel and Tagovailoa are no longer known for their dynamic partnership, much as their reputation for sinking under bright lights entering 2025 winless in the postseason. This is still year number 4 for the McDaniel and Tagovailoa regime. This is an outfit that's gone 25-16 when Tagovailoa is healthy. But Greer, the man who assembled the rest of the squad, sits even higher beneath owner Stephen Ross, the same man who in 2022 was sued by Flores for allegedly offering money to tank for better draft picks and position, and was separately suspended by the NFL for tampering with Tom Brady, the one quarterback who might have saved the Dolphins from their jury. In other words, the stink runs deep. The success has been lacking for a while, and thus the pressure is on the current setup to right the ship in a hurry, or so you think. What exactly does Ross expect of the 2025 Dolphins? You don't often unload salary and veterans like Smith and Ramsey, and let other cornerstones like Christian Wilkins and Holland walk in consecutive years, then bank on a deep playoff run, yet winning record would seem to be the base level goal, given McDaniel has done that twice already. A playoff appearance also might be required, though Ross has tended to give his coaches 3 strikes in terms of consecutive seasons without a postseason bid. We know the Dolphin fans are itching for a big turnaround, but the Dolphins' own history suggests they're okay treading water for a bit. Rear can at least be credited for prioritizing the trenches this offseason, adding beef on both sides in the form of first-round and second-round draft picks, Kenneth Grant and Javono Savaianaya, respectively. Reuniting with Minka Fitzpatrick in the secondary could be another win. Asking 2 rookies and Mike Tomlinson cast-off to completely remake your identity is still a gamble at the end of the day. The Dolphins will go as their quarterback goes, and that starts with Tagovailoa and his injury-riddled weapons, i.e. Devon Achane, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, staying healthy. A lighter 2025 schedule may help the group surge back into big play production, but seasons are decided in December and January, and that's where we've truly yet to see the sun shine in Miami. The AFC East is all over the place. The Bills are a perennial title hopeful, thanks to Superman efforts of Josh Allen, plus the balanced lineup that surrounds him. The New England Patriots are a popular breakout pick, thanks to Mike Vrabel, bringing what the Dolphins so often lack, fortitude, to a young roster with a promising young quarterback of their own. Even the New York Jets, dreaded for their own dysfunction, have the benefit of a fresh upside, welcoming Aaron Glenn as their new boss with a lower bar to clear. Are the Dolphins more talented than any of those teams? You could make the case. Are they more viable? You could make the case. Which means Miami doesn't just need pretty statistics or winning streaks to prove worthwhile in 2025. It needs to play like a team, a roster, a staff, a franchise, and a city with something finally worth fighting for. All right, guys, I'm also going to show you the tweet from last week by Raheem Mostert. Ramsey got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He wrote this hot take: be a Pro Bowler on the Dolphins. Get treated like shit. Happy, my guys, though. Go ball out. That's what he wrote last week when Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey got traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next, I'm going to read to you Phil Yates' take on Chris Grier and the Miami culture. Chris Grier has been the Miami Dolphins GM since January 2016. Before that, he spent over a decade on the team's scouting staff, shaping the roster under multiple head coaches. Notable roster moves, including trading the 2016 first-round pick for veteran Kiko Alonso, and Byron Maxwell. Drafting Tua Tagovailoa in 2020, Jalen Waddle and Jalen Phillips in 2021, Miami achieved 5 winning seasons and 3 playoff appearances under his watch. Yates often highlights Grier's long-term consistency retained through the 3 coaching changes, Adam Gase, Brian Flores, and Mike McDaniel. The continuity is rare in the NFL and a positive sign of organizational stability. He praises Grier's draft acumen, pointing to hits like Waddle, Phillips, while noting occasional misses, e.g. high picks that don't pan out. On culture, Yates emphasizes that a steady front office helps establish professionalism, player-centric environment, reinforcing standards and messaging across coaching staffs. The steady leadership, Yates suggests, is part of why Miami is now seen as a well-run, competitive franchise. Even some critics, like Asante Samuel Sr., label it soft or lacking toughness. And guys, I'm also going to show you a tweet from Barry Jackson on what Yates had to say this past Monday about the team's culture. After a week off, ESPN NFL Live spent much of its first segment lamenting the Dolphins today. Field Yates. This is a team whose football business is often mediocre. Mia Kimes. The secondary has major problems. As it stands, probably the weakest cornerback group in the NFL. I'm going to also play to you now what Mia Kimes had to say while she was on the Dan Le Batard show. And guys, leave me your thoughts down below what you think of this. Like I said, I tend to agree with Phil Yates, and I tend to agree with Asante Samuel Sr. and his takes and what was written in the article I read to you earlier. But let me go ahead and play to you what Mia Kimes had to say about the culture in Miami and about the Darren Waller trade and the overall trade to get Minkah Fitzpatrick. Let me play that for you guys, and we'll go from there.
With Stugotz and Greg Cody during the break, as Stugotz tried to become a presenting sponsor on Greg Cody's podcast, The Greg Cody Show, featuring Greg Cody, brought to you by God Bless Football as presenting sponsor.
We're in negotiations.
We have enough bills that have piled up that need to be paid first. Greg Cody's not going to be the first one to get God Bless Football money.
I like the way there.
Well, we are owed money from the episodes that aired on Meadowlark that you were paid for that I did, that you did not. So we are owed money.
Whoa.
Thank you for doing this.
Turmoil.
Very
Controversy.
Nice. Yes.
So maybe it won't be a presenting sponsor soon.
Title sponsorship.
We'll see what the judge decides.
We will have the judge in the next couple of days to make some rulings. Mina Kimes is with us now. I was disappointed earlier with Greg Cody's reaction to the Darren Waller signing and him being generally unimpressed with Darren Waller physically and just complaining in general that Darren Waller is not anything special.
Let me say one thing. Le Batard was talking about them signing Darren Waller as if he were Darren Waller's agent. Right. All I'm saying is I was appropriately standoffish in my enthusiasm based on a guy his age with his off-field issues whose last great season was 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, Greg, I don't know. There's such an impressive track record of older players in their 30s coming back years after they were good and being dominant in the NFL. So shocking that you're underwhelmed by this. Dan, were you whelmed by it? Were you overwhelmed?
Dan was
by
whelmed.
It? Like, what are we?
Properly whelmed.
I was appropriately
Stop
whelmed.
watching football 3 years ago, 4 years ago?
Yeah, but if we told Greg that Kellen Winslow Sr. was coming back, he would have been more excited. He would have been.
Well, but here's the thing, though. I believe the Giants were a place where every talented person went to die over the last 3 years.
I think if he was younger, I could maybe work up a little bit more excitement. With all due respect to his rapping career, I believe it was, as you guys, I'm sure, remember maybe the most embarrassing music video of all time that he dropped after him and Kelsey Plum split. You remember this, right, Dan?
Yes.
Yep.
Never won it. It's hard for me to get excited about this. It's also hard for me to get excited about it specifically for the Miami Dolphins because they seem to be committing to the bit that they're not a physical football team when everybody for now 2 or 3 years has been saying the one thing this team needs to get better at is running the ball. And instead, they go out and they get a tight end last year, Jonnu Smith, who I thought was excellent, not in terms of he's not like a real blocker, but he was getting those yards after the catch underneath. They're like going away from it, and it feels like they're leaning even more into their identity, but we already know that identity has not worked out over the long term.
What are the things from the last couple of days that have been most interesting to you?
I mean, the trade was really interesting, the Steelers-Dolphins trade, because you don't really see this type of trade that much in the NFL, which is essentially two teams betting against each other that the players they are acquiring are better, right? Because it wasn't like a huge salary dump, although I think that was a big incentive for Miami, was getting Jalen Ramsey's contract.
All right, guys, that's the thought about Darren Waller and the Darren Waller pickup and the Jalen Ramsey trade to Pittsburgh from Mina Kimes from ESPN. Leave me your thoughts down below and let me know what you think about this. And like always, stay positive, stay on the grind, and go Fins.